Welcome to Fuel. Fuel stands for Finance, Unity, Empowerment, Legacy. Join us today as Dr. Jackie, Dennis, and Mac have their first part of the conversation on the power of passive income. Enjoy.
Hey,
Hey,
what's up, family? Oh man, it's a good day in the neighborhood. I was just reading some articles today, and that's why my eyes might be a little red. I'm not sure. Too much reading. I couldn't sleep last night, so I was reading and reading, and it was just different financial things. Someone told me that they had that their tenant hadn't paid rent in 14 months. And there was a moratorium on kicking people out. So 14 months. When I was doing rental properties, and I guess I was doing it wrong, after 3 months, I was like, I was in trouble. So 5 days after it was late that first month, I was in court. But can you imagine the court telling you cannot take money, you cannot get money? Well, let me tell you, my situation was the judge would give the tenants an extra 30 days to pay their rent. Now they ain't paid in 30 days. Then the judge would give them an extra 30 days. And I'm sitting there like, dude, I have to pay this mortgage. And I do everything that the legal system tells me to do. They say, get your licenses. So I had licenses. I had my inspections. I had to pay extra for trash. I had to pay extra for the police officers. What are they called? The marshals. You know,
oh
I
yeah,
had to
yeah.
pay extra for everything. And then the judge will give them 30 extra days. And I'm sitting there like, that puts them 60 days behind, Your Honor. And this is dealing with the law. I'd never seen such crap in my life. And then the big companies will come in and the judge will say, kick them out, kick them out, kick them out, kick them out, get to me, give them 30 extra days. Really, judge? I said, how am I going to respect the system when the system was turning against me? And I said, oh, Richard Pryor used to say, just us. So anyway, why am I bringing up the court system? I'm really bringing up the stimulus checks, really bringing up the system where they were trying to hold back how much money you can get from your tenants, which goes all the way back to what are we doing with our money? Because they're getting stimulus checks. Now, it might not be enough, I understand, but 14 months of not even trying to pay rent or not even trying to move out, and this is not one person. This is just the one person that I know. It's all across the board. So the question becomes, what are we doing with our money?
Mm, mm. Well, I can tell you right now, I've been down that slippery slope that you just brought up. Um, a place that I choose to never revisit again.
Yeah.
So, for me, on the real estate side of things, I decided to do property investment as opposed to being the slum lord.
Like me? Oh, thanks.
Sorry, but yeah, because I could just understand it better, um, and what it allows me to do is to feel like for a period of time I'm operating as the bank. So just like a regular bank, they take in whatever monies are received and then they put it out into the market. Well, that's the kind of way I feel like I I took money and I lent it to help build a community, yada, yada. And then on the back end, there's a return on investment. So that seems to have worked out for me. But going back to the slumlord, landlord, whatever you want to call it, yeah, those days are over. I've lived that, and I'll never do that again.
Well, I have a lot of friends in real estate, and they're post 2008 people. And so when I tell them, I said, look, you have no idea what happens when they crash the system. And I said, I got caught up, and it just took everything I had just to try to keep my houses, and my tenants weren't paying rent, and the marshals were backed up. So I couldn't even kick them out. And it just took all the money out my bank. I had to sell all my stocks, and most people say, oh, poor you had money to do that. Yeah, but this is a system where everybody's got to do their part. If you need a place to stay, nothing's free. You have to pay for it. And I was a nice landlord. Hey, all you got to do is call me and say, hey, I need to be a couple of days late. I need to be 10 days late. I need to be, hey, long as you do what you say, I'm fine. But the problem is the court. It wasn't so much what they said, because I had already given them 3 chances. Now the court gave them another chance, and then they wouldn't pay, which means I had to take them to court again. And the judge was so nasty to me, you'd think he was a cousin of mine or something. I was like, dude, I'm trying to do everything right. So my friends that are in real estate, and if they haven't been in before 2010, I tell them they have no idea what they're doing. And that's just my personal opinion, of course. But I say, look, I've seen them drop the market 3 times in my lifetime. And this last time it affected me. So what I should have done was what they tell you to do. And this is one of my things about things that keep you poor, is I should have saved 50% of my income regardless, and then use the other 50% to live off of. Unfortunately for me, when my tenants didn't pay rent, that would eat into the 50, turn it into 35, and then another one wouldn't pay, turn it into 15, and then I had bills too. So I had to keep paying the mortgages on no income. And that's just not right. I was working a full-time job also, Mac and Dr. Jackie. But now I look at this rule. If I had been able to put away 50% of my money and then use the rest of 50% to take care of everything, and I'm not an extravagant spender, but if I had done that, I probably would have made it, maybe to 2016, 2017, 2018, when things started turning around for me. So in your personal life, it makes you wonder. These people haven't paid rent in 14 months. So I bet you anything they got a big screen TV.
Okay.
And if they're like some of the people I know from when I lived in the projects, they got a BMW Cadillac Escalade. And, they're grown people. So you can't tell them how to live, but you can let them know that bad times will come, and you have to figure out a rule to prepare you for. So that was my first one, was try to get to 50% savings. I'm using savings loosely right now. 50% that you don't have to spend of your income. So if it's a couple, live off of one person's income and find a way to make that other 50 work for you.
Yeah, that was the strategy, and I'll give you a chance to talk to Dr. Jackie. But that was the strategy that my parents used for the most part, and I actually watched that growing up, so I know it works. But can I vent for just a moment on what you just shared? Because once you talked about the big screen TV, it reminded me of a situation that I'm currently aware of with, let's just say, people I know. And they are struggling in order to meet their rent. And just that word rent is bad enough. In the topic that we have, professed to have wisdom on. So who wants to rent anything? But anyway, but worst off is when you talked about the big screen TV, that's just the beginning of the problem. I'm talking about extravagant dinners that I know cost a lot of money because you guys know I cook. So I know that a lot of money was spent on these things. I know that they are wearing new outfits. And I'm just saying, what are you doing with the money if you can't meet your monthly rental obligation? But you got the big screen, you got the PlayStation 5, you got all of the creature comforts. Now, when I was coming up, maybe that was a beans and rice night, if you could even afford the beans and rice. Maybe it was a spam night. I don't know. But you definitely weren't living off filet mignon. You weren't eating shrimp and crab legs. You weren't doing that. So yeah, to your point, Dennis, what are we doing with the money?
Well, if you're dating, know where your money's going for them expensive dinners. I just had this conversation with Dr. Jackie today, is that when I was dating, I spent more time in restaurants because I'm a guy, I cook. My mother made sure I knew how to cook. But if I was dating, I was at a restaurant. And when you go to a restaurant on a date, the girl gonna look out the window when the check comes. And you look out the window like, what's out there? and somebody told me a story. I don't remember who, but the girl ordered lobster. And the guy said, why did you order lobster? She said, because I never had it before. And he said, okay. So then she said, well, I don't know how to eat it. He said, well, why did you order something you don't know how to eat? Because you got to know how to eat a lobster. You don't just grab a leg and start chewing on it, And she said, because I just wanted to. He said, well, do you know how much the lobster cost? She said, no. He said, why not? He said, because you're paying for it. He said, no, I'm not. This is not a date. We're just two friends going out. Oh, you're not going to pay? Because I don't have any money. Well, why didn't you say that before? Because I didn't want you to know I didn't have any money. I just assumed you. So I'm just going around in a big circle. But if it's an expensive, extravagant meal, I bet you're dating.
The all of these, and I'm going to call them scenarios, examples, really point to the big thing is, what do you do / how do you spend your money? Understanding the spending, rather it's the food or the TV or the whatever, and understanding how money works helps you understand that saving and spending, those two areas. And so I think that a lot of people, and you all gave examples that may have nothing to do with COVID. Probably you could see it going on in COVID, but in general spending. But in COVID, what I think also was a settling of, they're not going to beat down my door if I don't pay the rent. So I have to be at home anyway. So I might as well get all the creature comforts because I'm here and I've got unemployment or I've got the savings that's burning a hole in my pocket. So it takes you back to having discipline, but having an understanding of spending and saving. So you're not able to live on 50% if you don't save it. But even if you are living on 50%, if you spend it all up, then you're not really living. So I think that that's another point of discussion.
Hey, Dr. Jackie, I got to ask you a question.
Oh,
You have been what?
Go on.
You've been teaching finances for some time, and you know, I think the rule was I don't remember the rule 80-20 or whatever. But when you teach people about how to save and how things, what kind of responses were you getting?
So most of the time, the face would change and they would say that they're not able to save, mainly because they felt that they weren't bringing in enough income to save. And my lesson for them was to move beyond the number. Whenever we talk about saving, we think we're talking big money. You got to bring in big money so that then you can take from that big money and put it in. And for me, you start with the mindset, the discipline of saving, of taking from to put aside. So therefore, if you have 5, take 1 of them and save. If you have 10, take 5 of them and save. So what I found was that most people nodded their head, but dismissed the idea of saving because they didn't feel they were bringing in enough. The other thing is that as it related to spending, they always thought they had a plan, never written, but the plan always ended up with them at a 0. They weren't keeping track of their money. So I do a lot with debt management. And I would find that they had debt, they had no emergency fund, they did not have a good foundation. They're sitting there floating in this debt, meaning spending. And they would say, but I don't pay the minimum. I always pay more. Okay. But they weren't keeping track of what was happening and if they were really benefiting themselves. So that's the kind of response I got. You know, I'm talking about the spending, I'm talking about the saving. They always felt they had to save much more, so they saved nothing. And they always felt that they could spend more on their bills and they weren't helping themselves.
Mac, Dr. Jackie and I sat down with a client and we looked at all their bills and everything. And the reason why I brought that up is because we looked at everything that they had going and then we looked into the future. And we said, well, she said the same thing Dr. Jackie said, I want to pay everything off. And we were like, if you pay everything off, you're not going to have any money next month. And then your bills are going to be late. Then you're going to get late fees and all that kind of stuff. So this is what we want you to do. So we have a debt roll-up program. And we drew it out on a nice piece of paper, made it look nice and pretty. If you follow this plan, you will be out of debt. You won't have any late fees, because late fees and interest will kill you. And it wasn't even 10 months. You will be totally financially, well, not free, but in a good shape, in a good place to start saving more money.
Even.
Yeah. Good place. Yeah. I mean, even is a good place sometimes.
It's a good place.
But what happened was her money was burning a hole in her pocket and in her mind, and she paid everything off. And the next month she had to cancel her insurance. She couldn't pay her car and she had to borrow money. And it was like, well, why are you calling us now? Because you didn't follow, it was only 10 months. So patience and a nice plan. You don't have to do 50-50 right away. It's just like a goal. You know, when you're playing football, you got 100 yards. You don't think 100 yards, you think 10 yards at a time. to use a football analogy.
Yeah. There are two words that came up based upon what you and Dr. Jackie just shared. The first word was budget, which is a big word for me. But the one that you inspired, Dennis, is methodical. And it's a beautiful combination when you learn how to use those two words. So for me personally, I have my budget on a spreadsheet because I'm just a spreadsheet kind of dude. You don't have to go through those measures, but I can look up and I can see everything that I owe. So now that I'm in retirement land where I pay off all of my expenses at the first of the month, so I had that spreadsheet ready to go. So I know how much I'm going to need to pay in utilities, in insurances and other miscellaneous stuff. And it's right there before me. And I know how much money I need in order to be able to live comfortably for that month. I just kind of, give myself a budget so that I don't go over. And if I'm actually under, I invest it. So it's a system that works for me. But the problem with your client is not understanding that word methodical. So she had that windfall and said, I'm going to pay it off. Not hearing the advice that was given that, hey, next month you're going to be in the same situation and having no money. But if you could have just methodically done what was recommended over those next 10 months, not even a whole year, you would have been out of debt. And when we talk about even, that just means that now you don't have back debt.
Right.
Stress.
Right. So now you can start being, using the sports analogy, you can start thinking about offense now. How can I now take some money and make it work for me?
Due to the length of this conversation, we had to cut it at this point, and we will be presenting part 2 next week. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Fueling Future Generations. Also, you can reach out to Mac, Dr. Jackie, or Dennis by going to Fueling Future Generations 2020 at gmail.com. We hope you enjoyed our first part of our conversation on the power of passive income, and we look forward to your attendance the next time we broadcast. Have a great day.